Monticello was a plantation.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're exploring the beloved and respected historical figures who, despite their good deeds for the world, hid a terrible racism that tarnished their reputations.
And he was legitimating anti-Semitism.
Joseph P. Kennedy Sr. As the patriarch of the Kennedy family, Joseph P. Kennedy greatly influenced his sons John, Robert, and Ted, all of whom went into politics.
The rise of Joseph Kennedy is as remarkable as it is seemingly unstoppable.
Kennedy himself was involved in politics, becoming the U.S. ambassador to the United Kingdom in 1938. However, this is where the problems came in. According to Kennedy's former aide, Harvey Clemmer, he would use anti-Semitic phrases regularly.
He used language, made speeches that were virulently and frighteningly anti-Semitic.
After meeting diplomat Herbert von Dirksen, the German told his bosses that Kennedy shared their views on Jews but didn't like how they were being so public about it. He was well known for being friendly with anti-Semitic figures like Catholic priest Charles Coughlin and Viscountess Nancy Astor. This, coupled with forcing his daughter Rosemary to have a lobotomy, tarnished Kennedy's legacy.
By the end of the procedure, she's basically lost the ability to talk, and it's clear that this has gone terribly wrong.
Napoleon Bonaparte. On the surface, Napoleon appears like a French hero and a war genius. However, in reality, he tried to set the country back.
As 2021 marks the bicentenary of the emperor's death, his political, military and social legacy have sparked quite a heated debate, both domestically and abroad.
In 1794, during the French Revolution, the European nation abolished slavery. Yet in 1802, with Napoleon in charge, he instigated the law of May 20th, 1802, allowing slavery back in France's colonies.
It was almost certain that upon coming to power, there would be the desire to re-establish the old colonial system, that is to say slavery.
This made the country the first to re-allow slavery after voting to abolish it. To make sure it was followed, Napoleon sent massive fleets to violently put slavery back in place. This included the Saint-Domingue expedition in modern-day Haiti, which resulted in more than 20,000 deaths.
Today, we all have the duty to claim reparations, to show respect to our ancestors, and to make sure that we are respected in our history.
Closer to home, Napoleon also banned non-white people from entering France. Andrew Jackson. Instead of being remembered for his efforts in aiding working-class Americans, the 7th president of the U.S. is better known for calling slavery abolitionists monsters and the atrocities he committed towards indigenous Americans.
He was brave, he was bold, and he was decisive. All the things the ideal American man should be.
In 1830, a little over a year after being elected, Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act, which allowed the government to displace Native American tribes from the eastern U.S. and take them west of the Mississippi River. Known as the Trail of Tears, lasting from 1830 until 1850, around 60,000 people from several native nations were forced to relocate from their homes.
This was not only condoned by the American people at the time, but celebrated as one of Jackson's landmark achievements.
Seen as ethnic cleansing, around 16,700 people didn't survive the journey. Many perished from disease, while others were murdered by locals and soldiers.
Ultimate urge is to survive.
Ultimate urge.
Mahatma Gandhi. As a leading anti-colonial activist, Gandhi played a vital role in helping India gain independence from Great Britain. However, his legacy is far more complicated than you might realize.
Mahatma Gandhi is famous worldwide for his non-violent resistance to British colonial rule. But last week, University of Ghana officials removed his statue from the campus, citing complaints from faculty and students that he was racist towards black Africans.
In 1893, Gandhi arrived in South Africa and quickly experienced racism. While this experience would mold him into an activist, it also revealed a less flattering side. Following arrests, Gandhi wrote in letters about his outrage at being locked up with black people, comparing them to animals.
Gandhi's legacy in Africa, as has already been mentioned, is complicated.
When he briefly returned to India, he used derogatory terms about black people, including the use of slurs. According to Gandhi's biographer, Ramachandra Guha, he also saw Europeans as civilized, Indians nearly as much, and Africans as uncivilized.
He was very much demonstrably a racist based on his own writings.
Dr. Seuss. As a prolific children's author and illustrator, Theodore Seuss Geisel, better known as Dr. Seuss, was a pivotal part of many upbringings.
These are the sounds.
Wow.
Of the nostalgia of childhood.
I love his books.
Being tarnished.
Yet behind the whimsical stories and drawings, he wasn't as wholesome. During World War II, Seuss drew racist anti-Japanese political newspaper cartoons and supported the internment of Japanese Americans. These sentiments also bled into his books, with several cartoons being criticized later as racist, causing them to be withdrawn from sale.
Let's take it out of the kids' books and
that is responsible. And, let's extend that responsibility to all of our culture.
He did later demonstrate significant personal growth, however. After visiting Japan and seeing the devastation from the atomic bombs, Seuss changed his stance. His book Horton Hears a Who, released in 1954, was dedicated to a Japanese friend, Mitsugi Nakamura, and the plot was an allegory for the American occupation of Japan.
Remember, no matter how small, that a person is a person is a person is a person.
Walt Disney. With the world-famous studio in his name, Disney has played a vital role in the lives of generations upon generations. Yet there are many blemishes in his legacy.
I'm not Walt Disney, he once told a friend. I do a lot of things Walt Disney wouldn't do.
In 1938, while working on Fantasia, Disney gave Nazi propaganda filmmaker Leni Riefenstahl a tour of the studio. There were also claims that Disney attended meetings with the German-American Bund, which supported Germany's actions during the war. There's also 1946's Song of the South, which was widely criticized as racist and has never been released on home video or streaming. After Disney was publicly criticized by Meryl Streep in 2014 for his anti-Semitism, his grandniece Abigail Disney supported the actor's assessment and later said he bordered on rabid fascism.
Nobody does stuff on the scale that he did. Is a good-natured sweetheart of a guy.
Henry Ford. While he was a pioneer in car manufacturing, Ford also had another job that was far less celebrated, being the owner of the anti-Semitic newspaper, the Dearborn Independent.
Never before in America had we seen anti-Semitism at a mass level.
After taking ownership of it in 1919, Ford's horrific work was celebrated by far-right officials in Germany, including Adolf Hitler and Heinrich Himmler, the former of whom even stated Ford was an inspiration and had a portrait of him near his desk.
Thomas Weber, author of Becoming Hitler, The Making of a Nazi, attributes Hitler's exposure to Ford's writing to his journey further down the rabbit hole of conspiratorial anti-Semitism.
Lawsuits about the problematic material in the paper led to Ford shuttering it in 1927, after which he apologized. However, there are allegations that his signature on the statement was forged. In 1938, Ford was awarded the Grand Cross of the German Eagle, the country's highest medal it could give a non-national.
Henry Ford has a complex legacy. He was a bigot, an oppressive employer, and by all accounts, a pretty terrible person. He was also the father of the American automobile, which revolutionized transportation forever. For better or worse, most of us wouldn't be getting around the way we do today if it weren't for Henry Ford.
Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill is often credited with playing a vital role in defeating the Axis powers during World War II.
He might be an icon in Britain, but in India, he is seen actually as the precipitator of mass killing.
But the Prime Minister of Great Britain was a massive racist. With famine sweeping through Bengal, then a British colony, Churchill made many hateful statements toward Indians. He also dismissed giving relief, claiming they were breeding like rabbits.
Churchill repeatedly refused to acknowledge the fact that the extent to which India was used could lead to famine.
Instead of helping end the famine, Churchill took what little food was in Bengal and focused it on the British military. Up to 3.8 million perished in the famine. According to a 2019 study, while drought kicked off the famine, Churchill's lack of action greatly accelerated the disaster.
Today, a generation of Indians more confident about our place in the world are questioning why there hasn't been more widespread condemnation of the dark chapters in our colonial history.
Thomas Jefferson. As one of the American founding fathers and the country's third president, Jefferson has a mythical perception that favors the more heroic aspects of his legacy. However, it doesn't take into account how much he benefited from slavery.
But at Monticello today, it is the imperfect Jefferson we see.
Jefferson, who lived on the Monticello plantation in Virginia, is believed to have had around 600 slaves throughout his life. Only 2 were released during his lifetime. Following his wife's death, Jefferson took his teenage slave Sally Hemings with him to France. During that time and when they returned to the U.S., he fathered several children with her, which was supported by modern-day DNA testing.
We as Americans don't address some of the more complex issues of slavery, of sex, of power, of ownership, and that is what is really interesting about Sally Hemings and her story.
Even after Jefferson's death, Hemings was never officially freed.
Being where my ancestors had been before me gave me that sense of, okay, we're part of this country, we're part of this growth, we're part of a bigger picture, and I can lay hands on things that they did.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Woodrow Wilson. In addition to leading the U.S. through World War I, President Woodrow Wilson also helped to create the League of Nations, a precursor to the United Nations. But Wilson wasn't exactly enlightened when it came to race.
Wilson is so disappointing because on the one hand, he's got this abstract vision of a more just world that has all of this potential and possibility in it. And then on the flip side, for all of his big ideals, he is such a narrow-hearted little man.
While attending college, he lobbied against admitting black students. Once Wilson got into the White House, he permitted segregated government offices. This also affected the military as black officers were banned.
He introduced Jim Crow to Washington, D.C. At a time when it was just starting to loosen up, he brought it back, and it became, for all intents and purposes, the law of the land.
However, this is also the same president who allowed the first film screening inside the White House to be D.W. Griffith's The Birth of a Nation, a film glorifying the Ku Klux Klan. In fact, a quote from Wilson advocating for white supremacy was even shown within the movie.
The big story on Action News at 10 is Princeton removing President Wilson's name from its Public Affairs College. The Board of Trustees' decision came down late yesterday, citing Wilson's racist views and policies.
What other respected figure who is racist did we miss from our list? Let us know in the comments.